Hi, I'm Heather, and I'm one of the admins in the Fabric Igloo group. Today I'm doing the video for our sew along, and we're doing the Brindille Twig pattern number 52, the tank top romper. So it'll be a lot of fun. If you've already printed out your pattern, we're just gonna kind of go from there. I say a lot. So when you print out your pattern, you're going to have your pattern pieces. Tape them all together. What I like to do is cut them out in the largest size, along with the size chart and what your binding measurements are going to be, and then just set them aside for now because you'll need them later. So I cut my whole pieces out. That way, if I should need to use them again, I'll have the full sizes and I don't have to worry about reprinting and do I have ink in my printer and stuff. So what I do instead is I trace them out onto some simple parchment paper that you can get anywhere. And the pattern, the size that I'm doing this time is the 9 to 12 month size, and I'm going to be doing some alterations to the pattern. I'm going to be making the shoulder straps a bit narrower than what the pattern calls for. So you don't have to do that. Of course, it's all optional. You can have fun and play with the pattern however it is you like. On the last one that I did, I put some ruching and some bows on the legs. So it's fun. It's a good pattern to play with. And Brindille Twig, it's very easy to follow. So I'm going to cut this out, and then we will take a look at our fabric. Okay, so I got my two pattern pieces cut out, and another benefit of doing it on the parchment paper rather than cutting it out of your printer paper is if you do want to make any alterations to the pattern, there's a lot more to work with. You're not cutting up your pattern and realizing that you made a mistake and reprinting. You're just using some parchment paper that's a lot easier to deal with. Okay, so the fabric I'm going to be using this time is going to be bacon and eggs. So I'm going to be doing the main body of my romper out of the green, and the detailing that I'm going to do on the romper is going to be with the pink. So I'm going to, last time I did some butterfly stencils instead of the stars that come with the pattern, and I'm going to be doing one of these on the back along with adding some ruffles. Any alterations or details that you add to the pattern are completely up to you. You don't have to follow along with that part. You can just do the basic romper if you want, which is a good pattern. So when you go to cut your romper out of your material, you want to be sure to find the grain line. So there's a couple different things that you can use to mark your fabric. A lot of people like to use a water-soluble pen. I don't recommend the air erase pen for the pattern, simply because as you're going to cut it out, some of your lines might disappear on you. Another option is to do chalk. I've got one of these little chalk pens, a bunch of different colors. So whichever you choose to do, and just I like to trace my pattern. You might use a rotary cutter to do yours. Whatever gets it cut out of the fabric works for me. One of the important things to do when you go to trace your pattern is to be sure that you are using some sort of water-soluble marker, so that if you do make any mistakes tracing it out, it'll wash off. So there's the front piece cut out. Well, apparently not all the front piece. It helps if I cut the crotch out. So we've got our two pattern pieces cut out, front and back. And because I'm going to be doing ruffles on mine, I'm gonna go a little sidetracked here. I'm gonna take my back piece and I'm gonna take a quick measurement. Ooh, not that one. Of how long it is. So it's about, 12 inches across on the backside. And I'm going to double that for the ruffles that I'm going to do. Because I don't want a whole ton of ruffle, but I do want at least, a decent amount. So again, on any of the detailing pieces that you cut out and do, pay attention to the grain line. You want it to match up with what you're working on. Or at least, I know I do. So, let's see. Okay. I'm going to do a butterfly on the back side. The pattern comes with a star template, but you can use whatever you want. Like I said earlier, it's a really fun pattern, and the Brindille and Twig patterns are so user-friendly and pretty easy to do that you can play with them a lot, and you don't have to worry about messing anything up too much, because they're really straightforward and they're really fun like that. So when you go to do your template on your piece of fabric, you want to be sure that you're getting it right where you want it, and that your piece of fabric that you're going to have show through is big enough where if you get a little bit off in your sewing, that you're not going to end up with too little and have it end up showing through. You want to be sure that after you're done sewing, when you go to trim around your design, you can leave the like a 1/4 inch, like a 1/4 inch selvage around it, just to kind of make sure that it stays there. So when you go to cut out your binding, you'll notice that there isn't a template for that, because you really just don't need one. You have the dimensions, and they're just long strips of fabric. And what I like to do is I'm doing the 9 to 12 month size pattern, so I like to fold it right there, so I know that it's just those dimensions, and I don't have to worry about like, Oh, where am I at? I get confused easily. So let's see. The first one for the neck is going to be 14 inches. So when you go to cut them out, you're going to want to cut them at 1 inch wide by however long the measurement on your piece of paper says. So if you haven't done bindings like this before on other garments, I would suggest doing them at 1.5 inches wide just to make it a little bit easier to work with. It won't be really too much thicker than what it already calls for. It'll just kind of give you more leeway. If you end up cutting them a bit longer than what they need to, like I'm doing the 9 to 12 month size and it says to cut it out at 14 inches. So if I cut it at 14.5 inches, that's okay. It's better to have it a little bit longer than necessary than to have it a little shorter than necessary, because if you cut it a little short, you're going to end up stretching it too much and your garment's not going to sit right. I will be the first to admit I do not do these a lot. I am not the most experienced sewer. So I'm going to cut mine at 1.5. So 14 inches long. And about 1.5 inches wide. And yeah, if they're not perfect, it's okay. You're just folding it over and sewing it up anyway. No one's going to notice. The armholes, you're going to want to cut 2, and the inseam, you're going to want to cut 2 as well. So, one of these fell off. So I've got my 2 inseams, and I've got my 2 armholes, and I've got my neck. Don't have to worry about those right now. Put them over with my other pattern pieces. Now what I'm going to cut is the ruffles that I'm going to do on the back of my romper. I already measured it, which was about 12 inches, so I'm just going to double that and get that cut. So those are going to be 24 inches. Okay, I'm going to do my ruffles at about 2 inches wide, so I'm actually going to cut them at 2.5. And I'm going to do, I don't know, 3 or 4. I'll do 3 or 4 of them.